think that's recording. Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, Earthlings. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. My day started out a little unusual, which I'll come to in a minute. I loved your comments on yesterday's video. Loads of you disagreed with me, and in all different ways. So diverse, so much thought process. And I was working my way through them. Then I went to bed. And I woke up this morning and my phone that I'm using now had gone into self-destruct mode, which was really weird. You know, I said I've had this weird, creepy witchcraft thing going on. I wake up and it's challenging me for a puck code. Okay, we all know what a puck code is. But I have 2 SIM slots in my phone, but I've only ever had 1 SIM in it. I've never used SIM 2. We could never get it to work, actually, when Benji and I got the phone and set it up. So this morning it's challenging me for a puck code for a SIM that I've never used, that doesn't exist. Anyway, we tried everything. I couldn't even turn the phone off. Not even turn it off. It was just frozen on this screen. So Graham and I went to great trouble, 2 hours. We went into Jib, and a wonderful guy who works at a shop called Kubchans. If you're ever in Gibraltar and you need to buy electrical devices, Kubchans is fantastic. He took one look at it. He said, I know exactly what this is. The SIM has locked itself. And I said, well, I've never used SIM 2. And he said, well, he just took all the SIMs out of the phone and the phone was fine. It suddenly freed itself up. And he said, what's happened is you have attempted to log in 3 times and it's locked itself. And I said, well, that's impossible because I put it on charge last night. It was perfectly fine. I wake up this morning and that's happened. Now, it's one or 2 things. Either it's witchcraft, which I'm open to suggestions because we've had the weirdest stuff happening around here for about 3 weeks, or someone's been trying to hack my phone, someone who has my phone number. I don't know. I'm inclined to believe the former. But anyway, the guy at Kubchans fixed it and I'll be able to contact the network provider on Monday to sort it out. So that's all kind of, there's a lot of weird stuff going on here. So I couldn't continue reading your comments. That's why I'm telling you this. First thing this morning, I thought, I want to get up. I want to continue reading the comments. So I haven't finished reading all of them, but I made notes because a lot of the things you said are just so thought-provoking and have really got my old cogs going. Where do I begin? Right, Spare. Let's start with Where, Harry's book. A lot of you said Harry's always been jealous of William, and I think you're basing that on his book Spare, Where, and whether you've read it or not, you know what the newspapers have reported on it, that it comes across that he's very jealous, and always has been, of William. Well, I disagree with that. I don't think he was jealous of William. I think he was perfectly happy. I think they were really close. I look at the old footage of him and William and Catherine and him with his father and Camilla, and I listen to the things he's saying, and he was just happy as a bug in a rug until a certain person came along. And I believe that Spare, or Where, has got her fingerprints all over it. I think it's full of false memories, and I think it's full of what she has been filling his head with. That's my opinion. I'm just saying that for the benefit of YouTube, Christopher Boozy, all these critics who say unless we worship Meghan, we're racist and we're haters, right? Ever since she came along, there has been nothing but negativity. He has completely separated from his family, where he was happy before, including his brother, who he was very close to. When I used to watch footage of them as children, when Diana was alive, I never got the impression, that, how kids can be. I never saw kicking or spite or anything going on. In my mind, the way I have witnessed it, it's ever since Meghan came along. So I don't think he was jealous of William. And I think no one has ever suggested that there would be a co-reigning, like they'd literally crown 2 kings and 2 queens. That's not what I meant. What I meant was he was led into a false sense of security in that he would still be Prince Harry or Duke of Sussex or whatever title, but that he always felt in himself, because they were so close, him and William, that he could have the same doors open for him as William could. And that's what he's transmitted to Meghan, and she's seen it as a power grab. That's how I see it. And she's taken it a step further and thought she can literally be crowned as a Queen of England. Because I really do. I think she's that deluded. What else? I'm coming to the co-reign. So one of the interesting things, one of the early things, I think it was actually her first public engagement with Harry. I think it was the Endeavour Awards. And I was really, really shocked because Harry had always been quite laid back and understated in a way. You know, oh, it's just me. But at that awards ceremony, they had obviously, the people at the Endeavour Awards had gone to great trouble cleaning the carpet, wearing all their regalia. It's a very proud moment for them. And one of the gentlemen, I don't know who he was, he could have been a mayor or something like that, he seemed to have a gold chain. He put his hand out to shake Meghan's, and Harry pushed his hand down and like, shoo, shoo, don't touch her. Well, I was horrified. I just thought, where's that come from, Windsor? You've never been like that before. Where's this arrogance come from? And she wafted up the stairs like she was the queen of planet Earth. So that was sort of one of the first engagements, and I thought, I kind of thought it was going to be like that. A lot of you referred to Diana as saying that Harry would be William's wingman. Yeah, but firstly, Harry was a kid when I think that was the Panorama interview when Diana was saying things like that. He was a kid. So I'm not sure he would remember it that way. And that's the thing. We've all got to think how he thinks, which is incredibly difficult because obviously his brain works in a very different way to the rest of us. You got to kind of get inside his head. It's no good us thinking, how would we logically deal with a situation? Because it would be a different situation. It would be a different kettle of fish. Because it's Windsor with what I see as a highly manipulative wife, you've got to get into their mindset and how they perceive things as opposed to how we all perceive things. Now, one of you pointed out something really interesting, which I didn't realise at the time. I have known this for a while, but I just never really think about it. Harry was 2 weeks shy of his 13th birthday when Diana was killed. But because at the time, I was 27, I wasn't really interested in any of the royals' birthdays at that stage, apart from the official monarch's birthday. And I don't seem to recall them really making that much of a fuss about actual birthdays back then in the media. That's a sort of a new thing, you know. Are they all going to congratulate each other on Instagram or something because they had a birthday? Fully grown adults had a birthday. That's a new thing, I think, because I don't really recall anybody celebrating Princess Diana's birthday. Mind you, I wasn't as, you know, I had a lot of other stuff going on when I was 27. So I hadn't really paid attention to either of the boys all the time Diana was alive. I was watching Diana. It wasn't until she died that my focus sort of more was on the boys. And the media reported him as 12. So that's how I think of him back then. He was 12 when he was walking behind the coffin, even though in reality he was pretty much 13. So one of you pointed that out, and I thought that was quite interesting. And, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, it's Diana's fault, it's Diana's fault. Well, I'm not sure I can go along with that, because Diana was in his life for the first 12 years of his life. Yes, those are very important years, the first years. Charles was also there for the first 12 years of his life. So he had both parents. Despite the divorce, they were both very supportive of each other when it came to the boys. And then after that, for about 22 odd years, who was in his life? Who was his influence? And I don't know the answer to that question. Generally his family, I would assume. And that's a period that I see he seemed quite settled, quite happy. He went to Africa. he chilled out a little bit, got himself together, and then of course the army, and then Invictus and stuff, and then along came a spider and sat down beside her. I mean, there's just no getting away from it. All roads lead to Meghan, I'm afraid. And that's, I mean, I'm going to carry on reading your comments because they fascinate me. You see things in such a different way sometimes to me. And other times I think, oh, nobody's going to think like this. And almost 99% of you do. And somebody said, if you try and treat your children equally, they will grow up to be spoilt, entitled brats. I have to disagree with that comment because Graham and I did treat both of our two equally. As much as we could. We don't have favourites, and neither of my two are entitled, arrogant, spoilt brats. They're both survivors of hideous verbal, emotional and physical bullying at school. They're a pair of little toughies, and well, I mean, Faith, she's literally flown the nest. She's doing spectacularly well. And both of my two absolutely hate the entitled generation. They hate the wokey-cokey stuff. They highly disapprove of a lot of what's going on. And also, I think it's very dangerous, again, to generalise and say, if a parent does this with their child is going to turn out this way, that way. Or start blaming the parents. Sometimes, yes, parental guidance can go askew and that can affect children. But I'm not one who's like, blame the parents. I'm really not at all. I think there are a lot of factors that come into forming a human being's personality and their environment and the things that happen to them. That's what makes the person. So I don't really like generalisations. Oh, if you spoil your kids, they'll grow up entitled. If you treat them equally. And we've never spoiled our two. It's always been charity shops, pound shops, stuff like that. And if they've wanted big toys, then they have to save up pocket money and do jobs and stuff like that. But we have treated them equally. And I do believe that as children, William and Harry were treated equally by Diana and Charles. And Diana and Charles, they only got divorced at the very end. They were a married couple. They were raising a family together. I think a lot of people forget that. And I think a lot of media spin, like it was really the media who kind of put the idea in everybody's head. Meghan always wanted to leave from the beginning. I never bought into that. I know she registered websites and stuff, but I think that's because she thought she was going to take over Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace, Houses of Parliament. She was going to be the queen of everything. And I think she got all her monetisation and all her trademarks lined up like ducks. And then something clearly went wrong. Now, my Graham's convinced they were thrown out. I'm about halfway there. They're kind of thrown out, stomped out, stormed out. Something went down. That question's never really been answered, has it? So, I mean, yeah, maybe they were thrown out. Maybe the Queen just put her foot down and said enough of this. And I do remember an insider at the time when they left from Buckingham Palace, and I can well believe this insider said, there was a collective sigh of relief when she left the building. Now that I can completely believe, because I've known people like that where we're like, oh my God, I'm so glad they've gone now. As always, thank you very much for listening to my rambling thoughts for the day, and I look forward to reading your comments below. You fascinate me. I wish we were all in a room and then we could actually, you know, talk directly, but as it is, this is how it works. See you below.